Welcome to the Only Friends Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Wilkes, and today we have a very special guest, my good friend, Noah Dome.
What's up, Mike?
What's up, dude? For those of you who don't know, Noah is the proud owner of a new sports blog. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so for a couple weeks now, a couple months, I've been dabbling in the idea of entering sports media, something I've always been interested in. And I finally pulled the trigger on a whim on a Friday night, set up a blogging website called Couch Fanatic Sports. Go check it out. You can find us on Twitter at Couch Fanatic, on Facebook page, Couch Fanatic Sports, same with Instagram, couchfanatics.com if you want to go check out the blogs. But basically, it's going to be a platform where I blog a few times a day, trying to get a lot out there, and then eventually turning into podcasting, YouTube, maybe do some Twitch, just ways to, you know, I don't not necessarily like formal journalism, but more of a just avenue of like a couple guys talking sports, you know,
journalism about the people.
Yeah, just like that's the kind of vibe. Yeah, you try and get into some Bama talk?
Let's talk Bama.
Okay.
So, Nicholas Joseph Saban III,
President of the South.
of all things football, below the Mason-Dixon line. What's your take on it?
I don't know how this man can test positive for COVID on a Wednesday,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's gone. It's
how do you even? And the thing is, right? Everybody else's games had one positive. Tennessee had one positive.
they're all
test.
postponed.
Postpone the game. Stop the game. The LSU game. LSU had no positive tests. Florida had 6, I think.
Oh yeah.
Stop the game.
And Dan Mullen had it.
And the head coach had it, but it
Right.
didn't stop the football game.
Right.
Nick Saban is fine. It's fine. Let him go. He's Nick Saban. He's Jesus. He is football Jesus. He can do what he wants.
No, you're not lying at all. I find it fascinating that Bama even wanted him to play, especially in like a 2v3 matchup, because if they would have lost that game, I think it was at Georgia.
Yeah.
Saban could have argued that so hard with the college football playoff, saying like, "Hey, we lost a road game to the number 3 team in the country when I couldn't coach. Like, you can't count that against us." And then they would have just been like, "Yeah, I mean, he's right," and added him. But I mean, I guess it looks even better that they wouldn't win.
I mean, sure, but you wouldn't want it in such a way where I feel like your assistant coach is going to handle it. It's not like Georgia was like a heavy roadblock. You beat them 44-23.
Yeah.
They weren't trouble.
No.
They weren't a problem.
Stetson Bennett looked like a freshman.
He looked young.
Yeah, he oh wait, dude, I looked it up. It said he's like 5'11", 190. There's no chance.
No.
He's 5'7", 150. No, like maximum. Like that's the cap.
I'll give him 160.
160.
I'll give him 160.
Yeah, he
He might have had a big breakfast that day.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't see how you say Stetson Bennett is, the answer in the SEC or the answer. Like, the thing is, it got talked up all week. Like, Georgia was going to go and they were going to stay at home and knock them off.
Yeah.
And I even kind of believed it going into Friday night.
Right, but their defense is so amazing. I'm like, okay, well, they're the only defense that's looked decent this game. And I'm like, and Alabama's defense has not looked good. I'm like, if Stetson can go put up 30 against the defense that just gave up 50 to Ole Miss, I'm like, they'll probably win that game.
Right,
and then Mac Jones threw a pick the first play of the game. I think it was tipped, but still. And I was like, okay. And then Bennett threw a pick right back, and I was like, oh, it's still Bama.
This is going to be one of those games where Bama is so Bama that you can't un-Bama Bama.
I just don't. They're not even peak Bama anymore, and every time you watch them, you're just like, okay, yeah, they're still invincible.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson's not walking through that door.
Right. And I think that's the main issue that you see in sports right now is Bama's entrenched. They have perfected the reload, not rebuild. They perfected that mantra. And LSU thought they were going to do it.
Dude, could you imagine if Saban would have stayed at LSU?
17 national easily.
Every year.
Because LSU has had national championship. Like, Bama has won national championships with sus teams.
Yeah, dude.
Teams where you're like, I don't know about that quarterback.
I don't like how Bama has quarterbacks now.
Right.
Like this, their old what was his name? AJ McCarron was like the best quarterback they ever had, and they were just winning the game because they had a year. Ingram, Kamara, Henry, Kenyon Drake were all on the same roster.
Right.
Dude, that's like you can't even get all of them on your fantasy team now.
Exactly.
And they had them all over. So much that Alvin Kamara was there and was like, I'm transferring.
I'm going to Tennessee.
Like I'm out.
And
Alvin Kamara, like arguably the best running back in the NFL right now. Like,
I think the evidence is there for it.
yeah.
I look at these Bama teams of the past, and I say, Blake Sims was a quarterback. Jake Coker was a quarterback. These are real names. Look them up.
Yes.
These people played quarterback.
Yes.
And
I think those names. I think like Tennessee Titans, like 7th round.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I think they should be.
Like that. And you look at those names and you say, none of these names stick out in the NFL.
Right.
But what does stick out in the NFL? Those receivers stick out. Julio, Jared Judy,
Mark Cooper.
Come on, guys.
Henry Ruggs. I mean, it's a list that goes on forever.
It goes, and it will.
And they got 2 more coming out now.
Right. And it will go on forever, because Bama has figured out. Nick Saban has figured out that the key to winning national championships and the key to putting players in the NFL is not the quarterback. It's not to try to get quarterbacks into the league.
Yeah.
It's to get running backs and wide receivers into the league. You have the best position players in football. Doesn't matter what your quarterback's doing.
You see the game manager.
He as long as he doesn't drown, he's fine. And if he starts drowning, you pull him.
Yeah.
Plug a new one in.
Man, you know who feels like they're drowning right now? LSU.
Oh my God.
This defense, if I have to watching Bo Pelini all year, I'm contemplating, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
And
he wants to keep running his scheme for players that aren't his guys.
This isn't the
They're
Big
not for their
12
scheme
anymore. This isn't the Big 12 anymore, Bo.
Yeah.
We're not Oklahoma anymore. It's time to move on.
Gosh,
it is like, and here's the thing, right? So Dave Aranda leaves to go to Baylor, and you say, man, we lost our defensive coordinator, but our defense should be so good.
Right.
Where
coming into the season, I was arguing. I was like, everybody thinks LSU will take a step back. Like, we will. I think we can still go 9-1. I'm like, there's still talent littered across the roster, and there is at every single position, and we're just not like people. First game against Mississippi State. Oh my gosh, Miles Brennan. Yeah, Miles didn't look great. He's looked a lot better as he's gone on, though.
But the fact is, Miles Brennan kept us
in every game.
In a game where we should not have been in it. And you talk about losing, first thing, home game to Mississippi State, and I get that home at LSU.
The dude threw for 622 yards. He got benched 2 weeks later. The guy that got benched, KJ Costello from Mississippi State, threw for 622 yards against us.
He's not an SEC quarterback. He is a Pac-12 quarterback. He's the exact archetype for a Pac-12 quarterback. Yeah. And he made Bo Pelini, and by extension Coach Orgeron, look like maybe they should be, I don't know.
Coaching South Fish.
If that.
Yes.
Maybe.
Dude, they had me sitting there week 1, and I was like, why didn't we go get KJ Costello? And now I see it's because it's KJ Costello.
He's not a good quarterback. Mike Leach came and brought the air raid, and Bo Pelini's such a bad coach that he couldn't figure out how to stop it.
Okay, but then they get held to 2 points against, was it Arkansas?
No, it was
no. Whoever.
It was a nobody.
Doesn't matter. It's not a nobody in there. It's not Alabama, Georgia, or Florida. So it's not one of those guys. It was a team that they should have. They did to LSU. They should have done double.
Easily done it. And you look at it and you say, well, the state of the SEC is a little wonky, mostly because it's all SEC. So there's no outside competition. There's none of those tune-up games.
No tune-up games. You don't have a second to figure out what's going on.
I could argue that this LSU team might be worse than the team that lost at Temple. Like, how bad do you have to be?
It's not that bad. It can't be. I refuse to let myself think that. Even though the offensive line couldn't block a puppy right now.
It's turnstiles.
Yeah.
I have never seen, like, our offensive line is essentially yellow caution tape. Like, please stop, but nobody stops.
Right.
And
it's a yield at a crossroads. That's when you accelerate, kids. Just so you know.
And
no, don't do that, kids.
And that's the issue. Like, you look at this LSU team and you say, there's not an offensive line. There's barely a quarterback. Arguably, there's barely a running back.
And
MJ Emery's our starter.
And Jefferson and Jamar Chase aren't walking through that door. And most of all, Joe Burrow is not walking through that door.
And defensively, you don't have Grant Delpit. You don't have Caleb Chase-Song. You don't have those guys who like cemented your defense last year.
You don't even have Fulton anymore.
You don't have Fulton.
I really believe this. This sounds so silly. I think you can plug in a Patrick Queen or Devin White, and I think they would beat LSU defense again. And this isn't even like they're that good. But Devin White is that good. He'll probably be all pro in the NFL. But it's just a leadership. Right. We're missing the leader on the defense that we had with Jamal Adams, that we had with Tyrann Matthew, that we had with Devin White, and eventually Patrick Queen. Right. The guy to get up in somebody's face and say, "Hey, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. We got to pick it up."
And LSU has had that since 2000.
Yeah,
they've had that defensive leader.
Not Glenn Logan. Mark Spears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking about since he was 96, I think he left LSU. Since then, you've had consistent leadership on the defense, and all of a sudden, your defensive coordinator is so bad, he should go coach in the XFL, and they don't exist right now.
The problem is, Pelini's scheme is so elaborate that I've seen reports that the players are confused and that they don't know what to do most plays. Here's an idea, Bo. Let them play. Let them go play man, run cover 2. And we have the athletes, they'll be okay.
Right.
Or run cover run blitz 5, which, by the way, Ali Gay, that kid's nasty.
Yeah.
He's held every play, number 1, but also he is in the backfield every single play. I made the joke, it wasn't really a joke after game 1. I was like, if I'm Ali Gay after that game 1 against Mississippi State, I'm opting out. And just go to the NFL draft with good stock. Yeah. You're long, you're fast, you're athletic, you're going to be fine.
Exactly. And he's going to go to the NFL, probably to the Chargers or something like that, some middle team. And
the way it's going, you might see the Texans at the top of the board soon. Gosh, the Texans, Romeo Crennel. I wouldn't want that job.
I wouldn't want it. Well, the thing is,
I would want Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I
would definitely want Deshaun Watson.
The thing is, when you're looking at that Texans team. And they played a really good game against Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
but
they
you look
at
at
that, they were down 21-7.
Right, and I look at that team and I say, this is not as bad. And I don't like Bill O'Brien. I didn't like him at Penn State.
Bob.
I didn't like Bob at Penn State. Didn't like him when he first got there, and he had Vince Wilfork on his defense, and he let him sort of wallow away the rest of his career. Yeah. And he had Vince Wilfork and J.J. Watt on the same defensive line. You don't make a playoff run.
And Jadavion Clowney.
You're making an argument for me. Look how good, that's a murderer's row defensive lineman.
Well, I've seen a lot of people in the industry that are like, okay, Bob, or he's Bob now. He's Bob. So Bob, he could not, he took too big of a slice from the pie. If he was just coaching, he'd be fine. But he decided to become the GM. Then he made, by far, the worst trade I've ever seen. The DeAndre Hopkins trade.
Oh my God, it was abysmal.
They trade top 3 receiver in the NFL. Right. It's like Hopkins, Julio, and Michael Thomas on a whole different level than everybody. Right. Devontae Adams too, but different level.
No, he's not. I don't think Devontae Adams. I think he's climbing the ladder to get to where they are.
But
I don't think he's there yet.
But you have him, and then you trade him for a washed running back. David Johnson doesn't look like David Johnson right now.
He's not, and it's because running backs don't have long shelf lives for the most part.
Which is why I don't think you should ever pay a running back, but we can talk about that one later. But and then also if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but they also gave up a better pick. They did a pick swap, and then they got the better pick, and
they gave up. I believe they gave a 3, and they gave it 2.
2 and got back a 3, right? And then I was like, okay, well maybe it's a contract swap. DeAndre Hopkins better get big payday. It's not the big of a money difference. Right. David Johnson has a big contract because they messed up and paid a running back, just like we said, and it's.
If you're Arizona, you are pointing at the Texans right now, and you are laughing, and you are saying, "We got Kyler Murray."
Oh, I want to talk about Kyler later for sure.
And we have D-Hop, and we're gonna go win the Super Bowl.
Eventually,
we're gonna go try and win the Super Bowl. And I look at them. I look at this Texans team, and I say, Deshaun Watson got the raw end of the deal because because Bob basically said, I'm going to remain a college coach, but now there's money involved.
And he still has no O-line.
right?
He's never had an O-line.
And it's not recruiting anymore.
He's giving me shades of Russ.
I mean, I look at how the Texans have played and how poorly they protected Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
Last year in the playoffs,
Who they play last year?
they played the.
I don't remember
I'm blanking out.
off the top of my head.
I'm blanking out, but I can see the game and I can see the.
Yeah, dude. All right, they always get the Saturday noon game too, so it's so funny. Like, all right, guys, it's annual. Sit down on Saturday at noon and watch the Texans lose.
Yeah. And thing is, crazy enough, they sneak out a win, right? You sneak out an overtime win. I forget where they snuck out the overtime win. They sneak out an overtime win. Then you go to Kansas City, and you're up. What was it, 21-0 at one point?
Oh no, 24-0.
24.
I remember this. We were at the LSU national championship game. They had like a little thing for like the families to like go and hang out in New Orleans,
right.
And like they do stuff. And we were watching on the TV, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the Chiefs are in trouble." And then Patrick Mahomes, they scored. They probably threw like a 70-yard touchdown, just how they are. And we're like, "Oh, the Chiefs are gonna win this game." Okay.
And they won. And it was I want to say it was 50-24, something crazy like that. I'd have to go look at it again.
I think they won 51.
But you were up 24. That's when I knew Bob was not
Should not fired on the spot.
Should not be a coach in the NFL anymore. And I mean
Not a head coach
anywhere. Arguably.
Oh, he's gonna go back to Bill Belichick.
Oh, yeah.
Take him back with an arm.
Belichick's gonna take him back. But arguably, I don't have him as an offensive coordinator. I don't have him as my defensive coordinator. I don't have him. I mean, I have him getting coffee. I have him as a coaching. Like, there's no way I give Bill O'Brien another
He's
job.
gonna get knocked down a couple pegs. He'll probably be a position coach.
Yeah.
Until he proves it, and then it's gonna be the full reuse coaching cycle that we get every March or February, and then we have, instead of giving people like your boy, the offensive coordinator from KC, Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy, yeah. Like,
instead of giving him his job, which he's been up for a head coaching job. He should have been a head coach. Arguably, he should have taken Arizona's job.
Yeah.
But
I'm a Cliff guy, though. I think anybody that can develop Baker, Mahomes, like people like that, like he's good. He's proven right now with Kyler.
He is. I'll be honest. I was not high on him at first because I think that getting a coach for a quarterback is a bad idea.
No, I agree.
9 times out of 10, you get a quarterback.
Oh, and they traded Josh Rosen to keep Kyler, which I mean, it looks great now.
It looks fantastic, but it's not that Josh Rosen's a bad quarterback. It's just that he's never had a good head coach, or arguably even a good position coach. He hasn't had a good quarterback coach yet.
I do like how he's training under Tom right now in Tampa. I don't like it as a Saints fan. I do like it as
a Saints fan. I hate the long-term ramifications of Josh Rosen versus Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. Either of them.
I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be our quarterback.
So I see those as of now, which obviously Sean Payton can go and do whatever he wants. He's smart.
I think I'll cut my left arm off for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I would arguably. Hear me out.
Man, I'm listening.
Hear me out. I give it on in the way.
I mean, I said this during off season. Kamara, I was like, dude, if the Bengals didn't have like Mixon, and if they're dumb enough, because let's be honest, in Cincinnati, I would trade Kamara for that number 1 pick and our first rounder, and like because running backs are so replaceable.
No, if I'm no, sir. I'll trade Kamara. I straight up Kamara for Burrow. Give me Burrow. And they'd be dumb enough to do it. And they'd be dumb enough to do it because again, it is Cincinnati. So they're dumb enough to do it. And then we have a franchise quarterback who arguably started the job years ago. He started under LSU. I mean,
you're not lying.
Think about it.
Give him that last year.
Coach O was running LSU South. He was like, this is just South LSU.
What do you think about Titans? Because I had your boy Derrick Henry as like the CFS, California Sports Alpha of the Week.
Yeah, I saw that.
He was nasty. He had, number one, a guy that large should not be allowed to run the fastest for the week. He had the fastest recorded speed in the week. And I'm like, okay, first of all, no, like what planet are you from?
Exactly.
You're quote unquote 6'3", like 240. No, you're 6'8", 370, and then you run in 22 miles.
Derrick Henry, he's an offensive lineman who snuck into the running back room,
Oh, right.
and nobody's been able to put him out since.
Right.
Nobody can get him out. Everybody's tried, nobody can.
My favorite part was like coming into that game, everybody was like, "Oh, Derrick Henry. He's only averaging 3 yards per carry or whatever. Like, he looks slow. He has long legs, so he's routed by defensive like lineman or whatever. Like, he takes a minute to get going. Yeah, well, when he's get going, who's gonna tackle him? Ask Josh Norman how that works.
Poor Josh Norman got tossed around.
Dude, I saw a meme that was like, all right, guys, verbal meme. You're gonna have to like think for this one. Picture it in your head.
See it.
Picture Josh Norman like falling on the ground in your head. And it was like, at least Josh Norman can always spin this like the still shot saying that he was karate kicking him in the chest, like kicking him in the ribs.
Oh no. I mean, if I'm Josh Norman, I want footage of this game buried.
Oh, just like the LeBron when he got dunked on.
Mm-hmm.
That I forgot who it was, but that footage just scrubbed from the internet. You cannot
You
find
can't
it.
find LeBron getting dunked on. LeBron has never been dunked on.
No, never.
It
Definitely not.
won't. Could never happen.
I think another thing I want to talk about is how I don't appreciate the amount of hate Baker Mayfield's getting right now.
So this is something we talked about a little bit off camera. I want you.
I'm a big Baker guy, so I'm just letting everyone know now.
I need to know.
Okay.
Give me the Baker Mayfield argument.
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask if he like had like money for like most money for my head or something. I thought you were gonna be like, you like this guy a little bit too much. Okay, so like, who like are you married to a sister? Like, what's
contract
going on?
killer going on with it.
Right. So like, I always loved Baker at Oklahoma because he had so much swag. He played with so much like pizzazz. Like, he had this wow factor. He had this it factor.
Oh, I agree.
And then coming in the 2018 draft, I was like, the speculation was they were going Darnold or Saquon. And I was like, no, you go get Baker. Baker's a winner. Baker's a franchise turnaround. And to be fair, he went into, I think the Browns went 1-31.
Yeah, that's correct.
Over,
1 win in the last 2 years.
In the 2 years. And he comes in and he, in the 5 games, I think he wins 5 out of the 13 games he played. And then last year he went 7-9. And then this year they're 4-2. Like, it's a culture change. Part of that's Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski's a great coach. He's doing what Kitchens refused to do. He's running the ball a lot with Chubb, who's hurt, obviously, and Kareem Hunt, and mixing in some Odell, mixing in some Jarvis Landry on bootlegs, which is where Baker excels. But I feel like Baker always had like the short end of the stick in the NFL because this was his 6th coach in 6 seasons between the NFL and college. That's a new offense every year.
Every year, and he's done it since he's a college athlete. And I'll say this too, in defense of Baker, which doesn't happen often because I'm a little hard on him. But in defense of Baker, I will say, at some point, you have to say Baker's been in the league. This is his 2nd year in the league. This is his third year.
Yeah.
This is his 3rd head coach. At some point, you have to say, the Browns changed 2 things, like underway, coaches and quarterbacks. And every year we say the quarterback's the problem. We said it about Tyrod Taylor. We said it about Johnny Manziel.
We said it about, just let's pull up the jersey list.
Yeah.
The jersey with like the 100 names listed. Right. We can say it about all of them.
For all of them, we say, oh, that quarterback's the problem in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so we fire the coach, we fire the quarterback. But if you hear me out, Baker, 3 years ago, 5 wins.
I feel
Goes
like
up to 7. Hear me out. 10 and you're in the playoffs in the NFL typically.
Oh, now that they have a 7 seed, I think if they get to 9-7.
Right. You telling me
now being in the same division as the Ravens and Steelers.
Right, makes it tough.
Not ideal.
But I hear
you have 4 losses right there.
Right, but I mean, hear me out. Right,
I'm listening.
We're going into week 7 of 16.
Yeah.
Right, means you have 9 weeks left. Even if you say 4 losses, they lose.
There's 2 left because they play Pittsburgh and Ravens already.
Right, so
2 losses.
So have 2 more losses left. You're telling me they can't find 5 wins?
I'm not saying that at all.
You're telling me you have an offense with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry on it?
And Chubb's gonna come back at some point.
Right.
Hoopers looked good whenever they mix it in.
Kareem Hunt. I'm sorry. I was out on Kareem Hunt.
Well, that's what happens when you kick a girl in the head.
Yeah, I was out on him. And I mean, even his last year in Kansas City, I was like, remember he was good, but I wasn't uber impressed. I wasn't like, oh, he's gonna be a long-term running back.
Right.
I wasn't even.
He was an Andy Reid offense. Pretty. Let's be honest. I could average 4.5 carry in an Andy Reid offense.
And
he could scheme you up something.
He could scheme. 6'2", 310 pounds. He can scheme me a running game, where I could get to 5.3 yards a carry.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you.
I don't have the leg meat. I don't have the lower body power enough to get to 5. I think I can get 4.5.
You could.
Like,
I mean,
now one hit, it might be one run, like 4.5 yards, and then boom, like my knee just explodes. Like,
oh yeah.
it's just.
I mean, you're gonna catch like I don't know, Quentin Williams or somebody just.
Dude, I wrote in my week 6 roundup blog that the Steelers, like the Browns, are still a little brother. The 17th straight year that the Steelers went in Pittsburgh, and it was just a good old fashioned whooping.
Oh, okay.
They took them like it was big brother and little brother, and he said, "Hey, let's play like tackle the man with the football," and then he would just toss him the football and then lay him out, and then he would say, "Hey, stand up," and as soon as you stand up, he would lay him out again.
Yeah,
that Pittsburgh defense, nasty,
just so bad. And here's the thing, right? So I don't know if you remember last year, I believe it was late November.
Talking about Minka trade?
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Late November, early December, somewhere in there. We see Myles Garrett hit one Mason Rudolph in the head, and a lot of people said Myles Garrett should have been punished. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been punished.
He was suspended 6 games.
I'm saying Mason Rudolph probably should also go to trial, but that's a whole different thing.
From the rumors of what he called him, I think it was warranted. If he did say the slur that they said he said,
right,
you probably deserve to hit an helmet.
And I mean,
with a helmet.
And I look at the footage of it, and I just say, if I'm Myles Garrett, I'd probably do the same thing.
Without. Dude, I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Not even.
Myles, every report about him is he's the nicest guy. He's so sweet. Like, since A&M, he's so awesome. Like, that's all you hear about him, how great of a guy he is.
And you look at, he's really one of the last great defensive linemen to come out. When you look at the one who came out of SEC before, I mean, look at Jadeveon Clowney versus him. People said Jadeveon Clowney was like, a walking jail cell. like just his attitude toward people and stuff. And then you get this breath of fresh air and Myles Garrett, and then people go, oh, but it's on him. It's his fault. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's a whole different tangent.
Yeah.
But let's get back to, you look at that game last year, right? And you look at how it ended, and
Browns dub.
Right.
Browns dub.
And you saw the Browns get a win. And you say, "Oh man, the Browns beat the Steelers. Are the Steelers done?" I remember looking at the first takes of the world. And,
as long as Mike Tomlin's there, the Steelers will find a way to win 10 games.
Mike Tomlin, and this is going to be unpopular because he doesn't have the Super Bowls to back it up, but Mike Tomlin might be the best coach in the NFL.
No, and you can't say that with Belichick. That's the problem.
But here's why I say it, Frank. Because I look at it.
Yeah, but Mike Tomlin, he's a great coach. I don't think he's Bill Belichick, but he's on that next tier for sure.
But I mean, hear me out on this.
No, dude. I think Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time.
Okay, sure. And I think his past warrants that.
Right.
And if I
think if you give Tomlin 20 more years.
If I'm saying today, right, I'm starting a franchise.
I mean, Bill Belichick's going to die at some point, so.
If I'm starting, give them both immortality for a second, right? If I'm starting a franchise today, and it's Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin, and I need a head coach, now not a GM, because I believe Bill Belichick, that's why he's the GOAT.
Yes.
Because he's been able to GM freely. When you can build your own fantasy team.
Bob. Unless you're Bob. He's taking all the ricochet shots today.
Right. I mean,
he deserves it, so it's okay.
I hate Bill O'Brien.
I love Deshaun Watson.
But I think about that the possibilities I could have with Mike Tomlin. This is not them GMing, which is to me why
I think
Belichick's the GOAT. If I'm taking them coach to coach, and I'm throwing them both pieces, I'm taking Tomlin.
I think what obviously the stigma with Belichick is he always finds a draft a hidden gem, and it's gotten to the point where Belichick drafts Jarrett Stidham and says, "Hey, that's going to be our quarterback," and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, what does he know that we don't?"
Right.
And then he could just be he could be just teasing y'all.
Right.
We don't know.
He absolutely was. That's why we even got Cam Newton.
Oh yeah.
He did not think.
And then started Hoyer over Stidham. Right.
That should tell you everything you need to know about Bill Belichick, the GM.
Yeah.
He can play 3-card Monty. extremely well. He can put what you think is what you want here. And
what's the stigma
toss to
with
other
the whole
things.
white receivers?
Right.
Talk about, oh, Belichick's gonna make this white receiver a household name.
I mean, hear me out.
It wouldn't be wrong. Edelman, Amendola, Wes Welker.
I mean, he's done it. And he continues to do it. I mean, he's putting off a white tight ends even. I mean, look at Gronk.
His tight ends are killers for sure.
I mean,
Okay, you know what the next thing we're going to talk about that I thought about? I started to go into earlier, but I figured it was a time and place. I feel so bad for Joe Burrow. That offensive line is a revolving door. We joked about LSU. I don't think their offensive line can block me on a double team. I think I could break through on a double team.
I would argue that the Bengals' offensive line is a piece of missing drywall. I would argue there's nothing there.
That's
like you put the paper over the drywall.
Oh, yeah,
there's paper there, but there's no drywall. It's
tough.
just paper. You just.
I think about like whenever a kid like loses like 2 front teeth, it's just like hole right down the middle. But like Joe Burrow, every single play is running for his life, and then also their offensive line is just so bad that they can't get a run game going. That I hope take pressure off of Burrow so they can continue to stack the box. Because guess what? You're not going deep because you're not gonna have the time.
Who's developing a route beyond 6 yards?
Right, and AJ Green looks washed.
And I would argue he looks so bad because he can't develop a route over 6 yards because his quarterback's getting it.
It's also true, but I've seen him drop passes that at first I was like, okay, it's not playing football in 2 years for us. Like, it's going to come back. But he might need to call Michael Thomas and ask him about the hand yoga because that's the only thing I can say right now.
I mean, the thing about him that's tough too, right, about AJ Green is you go, like, say what you want about them. They didn't win any playoff games, but they were there every year.
Oh, yeah.
They would show up and get bounced by the Steelers and go back home every year.
Whoa.
It's tradition.
As is tradition. Talking about old school Bengals, you know what that makes me think of? That Monday Night Football game when Andy Dalton looked like he was seeing ghosts.
Well,
the amount of open throws that I've seen him miss, like just that one game, when he replaced Dak on the game when he got hurt, people were like, okay, Andy Dalton, like he might be okay.
He's a top half of the backups. Quarterback. Yeah, like he's not gonna go like the world.
And then guess what? No, he was
so bad.
And then Zeke didn't help. Zeke was fumbling. Andy Dalton threw 2 picks, and he got to the point where like CeeDee Lamb was dropping passes.
That game, I have one word for that Monday night game.
Hit me.
That game was disgraceful, and a disappointment, not to Cowboys former, to football former. You can't, as a team, say we lost our leader. Right, you say,
right.
And then last year we blamed Jason Garrett. In the past, we've been blaming Jason Garrett. It's scheming. It's not right. We've blamed offensive coordinators for years. Find a new OC. I want to say they've had 3 new OCs in the last 5 years.
Right.
Like we changed so much stuff, right? And then ultimately the blame came to Jason Garrett, and he's gone.
But he was always just a yes man for the big Jared Jones.
But now you went and you claimed you got an independent coach and Mike McCarthy, and you seem to have taken 5 steps back because that game was so bad last night. You can't tell me Dak was hiding all of that for you. If Dak was hiding all that for you, I was mistaken because, and I'll say this in a moment of true transparency on this very podcast. About 7 to 8 weeks ago, I said, and I'm going to quote myself directly here, I think the Cowboys are an NFC championship team. I said that. I said I thought the Cowboys were. I said they had the roster that was good enough. I didn't say Super Bowl team. I said they were an NFC championship team. I picked the Cowboys and the Saints. I said they're a top 4 team in the league right now.
Right.
And right now, I don't know how they're in the top 16 teams in the league.
I don't think they are.
And it's because.
What are they, 2-4?
And you look at it.
And that Atlanta win, I mean. Back to what things that I say I can do that I can't. I could beat Atlanta. As long as I'm not on Julio or Ridley or Russell Gage or any Zacchaeus, literally any of their receivers, don't know where they get them from. That's like the Steelers, how they just pump out receivers like crazy. But
where's he out of? Atlanta was. The thing is, I could go beat Atlanta with my recreation football team.
Yes.
And look, we have 16. We don't have like 40 kids or something. They have 16 kids on the team.
Playing both ways.
Those 16 kids playing Ironman football could absolutely beat the Falcons.
That's such.
I mean, Goodell, if you're hearing this, set up the game. We will do it.
Atlanta sports, they can't. Back to Georgia, they take an L, and then Sunday comes around. The Falcons miraculously just beat the hell out of the Vikings. And then right there, Atlanta fans should have said, "Oh no, the Braves just lost Game 7."
Yeah.
Because you are not, as an Atlanta fan, you're not getting lucky. You're not getting multiple wins in a day.
You're not getting multiple wins in a weekend. And sure enough.
Let me ask you a question. Coming into the season, what were your thoughts on Dak? Where would you have ranked him in your top quarterback?
Dak was a top 8 quarterback for me.
8? Okay.
Top
That's
8.
That's about the same.
Somewhere in the 1 through. I don't know exactly where I put him in the top 8,
Yeah.
but he's higher than top 10.
Where's
but
he at
not
now?
quite top 5. Well, seeing how bad their backups were.
I think I would argue top 4.
But I'm saying top 4 because Dak has been hurt a week. They played the game Monday night. Dak didn't play it, and Dak still leads the league in passing yards. He is still the passing leader. So
Which, I mean, obviously situations vary. He has great receivers, and then his defense is so pitiful that he had to throw every single play.
And look at him
6 games.
And he had 52 passes on the same one game. Like,
Yeah, I think against the Browns he threw for 60.
Yeah, like
It was crazy.
It's ridiculous, and a ridiculous amount of passes.
Which is why he's 2 games, because he's throwing 2 games worth every game. Just to keep up.
Right. And I look at that and I say, you know what? Before you blame Jason Garrett, but then you went out and arguably Jason Garrett would be doing a better job right now. Jason Garrett right now, they're 2-4. Jason Garrett's 4-2.
Probably.
I give Jason Garrett 4-2.
But did you see the report that came out today that the players came out like they didn't put a name to their statements, which I always have a problem with. Like, put your name on it.
Yeah,
but
if you say it on it.
Right, like be a man. But they said that the coaching is like laughable. That none of them are prepared. None of them are ready to work. None of them are ready like doing business.
Which when Matt LaFleur was hired in, was it early 2019?
For the Packers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he was hired, they said the same things about Mike McCarthy. And it seems like nobody listened, but there was a canary in that coal mine. And Aaron Rodgers even said, I don't want to play for that man because he's never prepared to coach us. And you look at...
I think everybody said, like Aaron Rodgers being the prima donna, like they were together just too long, like it's bound to happen.
It's a relationship thing. Relationships can't last forever and things like that. And I look at it and I say, oh, well, you know, there's no divorce clause after 30 years of marriage, you know? You can absolutely stay married longer than 30 years. I look at them and I say, well, you can absolutely stay a coach-quarterback combo for more than 10.
Yeah, you're 8 year opt-out
Right.
in a marriage. Sorry, babe, not feeling it.
I'm going to opt out and try my luck to free agency.
Right. Try my luck elsewhere.
Take your talents to South Beach. That's what I do.
Yes. Not 1, not 2.
3. That's... You got to come back on the pod for that one.
Yeah.
No, but I look at that and I say, wow, Aaron Rodgers, yet again, crazy. He was right. Yeah. Because he called that about.
He certainly wasn't wrong. Like,
and everybody said, oh, well, he just doesn't like him and this and that. And Mike McCarthy's a good coach and he's going to land on his feet on another team. And he's lucky. I think he'd be lucky to say he landed on his back. I think that's luck.
How did he back into that job? That's what I want to know. Because that was a finesse.
Yes.
Like, he finessed them.
It's amazing how a coach that inept can one, stay a coach, but 2, get given that, like, he basically was blessed by Jerry. Like, Jerry Jones was like, this is our dude for the next, however many years. We're going to try to keep him 10, 12, 15, 20 years. And no.
Yeah, I'm not like, obviously I understand why the Packers weren't like, hey, like, Cowboys don't do this guy is that bad. Because, like, you don't want to help your competition out. But, like, at that point,
he's so bad. It's the equivalent of, even if somebody's your enemy, you still don't let them, you don't, like, see them get shot and be like, oh, great, he got shot. You like
got him.
You don't throw him in front of a bullet.
Yeah.
You still pull him out of the way of a bullet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If I'm Jerry Jones, though, that's how Jerry Jones is one of the best owners in sports. Because
he spends money.
He's smart about spending money, but he's also smart about being conniving to his competition. Now, granted, it hasn't gotten him a Super Bowl since the '90s, since before I was born.
I think he's got the Bob problem, another ricochet shot, that he wants to control every single aspect, and like he's the GM, and like Jerry, I'm sorry, but like Herschel Walker's not falling into your lap to trade.
Not again.
Like you're number one. If I'm how old's Jerry? 70s, 80s. Like, he's older.
I want to say 76, 77, something like that.
Yeah, he's older. So like, at what point are you just like, number one, this isn't working, but also number two, I kind of just want to chill.
I don't want to hire a GM.
Right.
Let my coach on his own. And don't try to tell him midway through the season like you did with his former coach and tell him, oh, you're changing the offense. Yes. Go get Kellen Moore, we're changing the offense. What? Excuse me.
Remember whenever Kellen Moore got hired and that everyone's like, oh my gosh, Cowboys can pass now. Kellen Moore's awesome. What happened?
Well, I would argue that a lack of a head coach is way harder to overcome than the lack of any assistant.
It's true.
And it's apparent that the Cowboys likely will not figure out. Just what I don't see how you figure out.
As long as Jerry Jones demands what he's demanding right now, I don't either. But your boy Kyler,
Kyler Murray.
I think I have a crush on him. I definitely not even like in like gay way, like in a just straight up like I love Kyler Murray.
There's a lot to love.
It's not even like, oh yeah, he's such a gifted passer. Like I'll see him like a young Russell Wilson, like escape a sack and then run for an 8-yard scamper, and he's the fastest guy on the field. Like that doesn't make sense. And he looks like a little bobblehead when he runs too, because like his helmet's so big compared to his body. So he's just as he's running.
I remember watching him and for full posterity, he's on both of my fantasy teams. He's the starting quarterback on both my fantasy teams. One of them has Drew Brees on it, and he is still the starter, and has been since week 1.
As he should.
As he should. Saying that, he's my starter, and I looked at him last night, and I said, he plays quarterback. Maybe the best I've ever seen it, but if not the best I've ever seen it in the top, as far as mobile quarterbacks go.
Right, for like running ability.
Like honestly, I like him better than the Michael Vick of old. I like him a little better than Russ even, because he's a little more flexible with understanding the offense.
As a pure runner, yeah, but I don't think he has the same arm talent as Russ.
Well, and this is what's interesting, right? So you argue the argument against mobile quarterbacks, right? Is you say, oh, usually they're short. Kyler Murray's 5'6", might as well be 5'2".
Gosh, I'm sure he's listed as 6 foot as well.
Yeah.
Him and Bennett, they're both 4'2".
Yeah. There's no way. There's no way. But I look at him and I see him roll out, and I say, if you're a defense, maybe he doesn't have the arm talent.
But you have to respect his legs.
But you have to respect his legs.
He went 9 of 24 last night, though.
Yeah.
I was watching a game and I was like, Kyler Murray, wow. And then I wrote my recap and I was like, I'm about to just show so much love to Kyler Murray. And then I looked at the box score, I was like, 9 of 24. Yeah. And he doesn't throw the ball away much.
Exactly.
I watched him last night. He slid a yard behind and lost yards instead of just flipping the ball right out of bounds. And then another thing that's been kind of annoying me, Kenyon Drake sometimes will just be chilling in the flat, as he scrambles, and it's did Drew Brees dump off to Kamara, let him go get 9 yards? Well, no. Kyler's just gonna keep the ball and go get 9 yards and use him as a blocker.
Right.
And sometimes the old school fan in me toss the ball to the running back, go get a couple yards, get out of bounds, and let's keep rolling.
Right.
And then the other side of me is then he breaks the ball for 30-yard touchdown runs. Right. And
so,
I'm
look at the touchdown he had last night, coming off tackle. Just the way you want to see it.
He's silly.
And he goes and hands her off the line and does his thing. And I'm like, Kyler Murray plays quarterback as a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
The best maybe I've ever seen it. Except for, he really can't throw. Except for that, he can't throw. But he's
not bad for a running back.
But the thing is, because he's a running back who can throw the ball,
right,
you can't necessarily commit fully to the run because you don't have to throw good to get the ball deep.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you can
Cliff
throw
skinned him,
it
right?
deep.
You can see his footwork's improving.
Yeah.
He's not bouncing
Mhm.
as much anymore, which is helping with his eyesight.
Mhm.
But I think Cliff's gonna get him right.
And I see him and I say maybe he's in the next few years we see him and we say he's a top 3 quarterback because I look at the other mobile quarterbacks, and mobile quarterbacks are dominating the league to a small extent right now. You look at the top 3, and 2 of them are Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. So, like, let's be honest.
And another is Russell Wilson, and like they all, even if they're not true like running quarterbacks,
Right.
they all can run when they need to.
And that's why you respect them so much. Because you look at Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson was a lot like Kyler Murray.
Yeah, this first year.
He just kind of lucked into a better coach. I mean,
Harbaugh
he has a Harbaugh. You don't do wrong having a Harbaugh, And he lucked into a slightly better coach, and I think that's why he was in a better position earlier. That's why people looked at them last year and they say they failed because they only made it to the AFC Championship game. Because you say that's a Super Bowl team, and it was because Harbaugh figured out how to make him throw the ball. Because at first he was absolutely a running back. You can say what you want, and he obviously joked about it, but he was absolutely a running back.
Yeah.
He was absolutely not that that guy where you're like, oh, he's good. He's gonna go, and you didn't see it. And for me, it was hard for me to go and place him on that pedestal and say,
I had
Mars,
to eat crow. I had to eat crow because
he won MVP, and I was like, there's nobody else you give an MVP to.
Okay, I was such a Lamar hater because I'm like, okay, LSU shut this guy down,
Mm-hmm.
and then like he got shut down in the
terrible.
playoffs, and I was like, he can't throw unless he develops consistent just average arm.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be able to succeed. After a year or so, defensive coordinators in the NFL will figure him out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he comes out week 1 and throws over Miami, and I was like, okay, impressive. Still Miami. At that time, we were joking about tank for Tua because literally they traded everyone away.
Everyone.
Which Coach Flores, awesome.
Okay.
But
we're gonna go back to Coach Flores.
Yeah.
I want to talk about his decision making today.
But he did the whole not bad for running back, and I was like, well, I'm not bad against the Dolphins. And then he started going, and it just kept happening and kept happening and kept happening. And I'm talking to a couple friends of mine. I was like, okay, he's not this good, is he? And then he was. And then I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, he had the best season, and I'm arguing. I'm like, I didn't want to be wrong, honestly. So I was like, Russell Wilson deserves MVP though, because I think I still stand by this part of the take.
Mm-hmm.
I think Russell Wilson was more important to his team because I think if you take away Russell Wilson, the Seahawks don't do what they did last year with that offensive line. I think you can plug in a game manager quarterback in the Ravens with that run game, with that defense, with that offensive line.
That defense was so good last year.
I don't think they go 13-3. I don't think they get the 1 seed, but they can go 10-6.
Yeah, I see them sneaking in the playoffs, maybe sneak in a win.
Yeah.
Maybe against the Texans on that.
Bob.
Maybe you go see Bob on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, noon
And,
every Saturday. Book their appointment.
Get it locked in. I mean, I can't disagree.
Yeah,
I can't disagree.
But wow, Lamar.
I get why you could. I get the argument against him being MVP.
Yeah.
But I think the argument for him being MVP is just it's so strong.
Yeah.
Where you're like, wow, have we seen that before? Have we seen a running back literally develop an arm and then throw his team to 13-3?
Yeah.
Where we just saw him last year, the year before, bow the playoffs against the Chargers.
But it ended up happening again.
Yeah. But you look at him and you say, man,
Derrick Henry.
Which that's how the Titans are.
They ran for 190 against the Baltimore defense. We were literally just lifting on every pedestal that we could possibly put him on, and Derrick Henry made him look like Josh Norman. There's a team of Josh Normans.
Because Derrick Henry, I think he might be I think his parents might be half wrecking ball.
Wrecking ball, yes, half wrecking ball, half offensive lineman, a third cheetah just mixed in. He's 133%.
Because I don't know any defense who would have stopped Derrick Henry that night. And you see Derrick Henry beat the Patriots, and you're like, oh, that's not something we've seen before.
Right.
And then you see him beat the Ravens, you're like, oh, that's definitely not something we know.
Kansas City did it right. That's the way they handled it. They said, no, we're not going to try and run with you. We're going to go throw the ball, and we're going to score. And if you want to play possession football, that's fine. But every time we touch the ball, we're going to score.
Exactly.
And then, like, you're not gonna be able to run. You're not gonna be able to drive the field every single drive with Derrick Henry running the ball.
Derrick Henry doesn't. As good as Derrick Henry is, he doesn't have 15 touchdowns for you.
Right, like
he doesn't. You have to go and score.
He's not gonna get 40 touches. And if Derrick Henry gets 40 to 45 rushes and he beats me, I'll take it.
Sure.
Like, he was a better man that day.
Sure.
But if I'm not taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands,
exactly.
Playoff Damian. But back to what you said about the Patriots, we never saw before them. People forget they were going to be the 2 seed, and then they lost in Miami to Miami, and I think it was at home.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, something's wrong with Tom. Like, Tom's not Tom anymore. Like, and then Tom's not Tom, but the Bucks are winning.
They're winning. I don't know that they win the NFC South, but I think they do get the 7th
so
seed. I think they get the last spot. I do think that, but I don't see them winning the NFC South, and that's not just the Saints fan.
Let's list them. Okay, so you have the Saints, you have the Packers, you have the Seahawks, you have who's the NFC East? Whoever comes out of that crapshoot, which they should.
I'm gonna pick the Eagles now because the Eagles are the least messed up.
I think so too, but I don't think they should be allowed a playoff spot.
They shouldn't be.
But
that's a different argument. My argument is you reseed all together and you say 1 through 7 who's the best.
Yeah, and then you have just like basketball. So you have those 4 right there, and then it's the Rams, the Niners, the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Bears.
Right.
They're all fighting for that last spot, and then the Panthers are gonna make the round, but the Panthers are gonna make a hunt.
The thing
5 teams fighting for 3 spots.
The thing is, the Panthers are a divisional game, and the thing Tom hasn't experienced because he wasn't in the AFC East is not a strong. Say what you want, they're not a strong division.
Jets, Dolphins, Bills. That's 6.
The
wins.
Bills are starting to get the Bills are starting to come around now. But, I mean, even last night.
Josh Allen needs another year after what I saw.
And so
I have him on my fantasy team.
And I look at them and I say, they're right there. The Bills are almost there, right? And you look, the Patriots took a step back, and so right now that division is a crapshoot.
Dolphins they coming. And Tua just got named starter.
Bro, I was talking about. How you doing? I was looking at it, and Tua looked like maybe he had 2 passes for 9 yards. But you can't tell me Tua didn't go 13 for 13 for 157 yards and 6 touchdowns the way he looked. Like he
looked like Tua.
I was like, man, Tua's back. He had 5 plays.
Dude, that unit looks good on him.
Right?
It looks good.
Yeah.
Like, I saw him throw the ball, and as soon as I saw him drop back, I saw him throwing 41-yard touchdown to Devontae Smith to win the championship as a freshman. That's what I pictured.
And what's crazy to me is you look at that play, right? And it's funny because he took a sack in that national championship game, which is why it was that down in distance.
Right. That's what people forget. It was 2nd and 20-something.
Yeah. He takes a dumb freshman move sack, right? And so you're like, oh, Tua's human.
Yeah.
But then you see him throw that dart, and you're like, oh, maybe not.
Right. It took Trevor Lawrence for him to. His 2 losses in college: Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow.
And I argue that if he's 100% in that Joe Burrow game, it doesn't happen.
No, that fumble he had.
It's because he was hurt.
Right.
And I look at Tua and I say, one, what a competitor. You see the toughest game on your schedule against maybe the hottest team in sports as a whole.
Yeah.
And they're coming to your house to play, and the president's coming to watch, and everybody's coming to watch, and it'd be easy to say, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And Nick Saban could figure out another quarterback. Would it be a good one? Probably not. But he could figure out something.
Right. I mean, Matt Jones looks good now. He's not. I don't think he's Tua, but
he could have figured out something. He could have kept it in that game. And you look at Nick Saban, who will absolutely plug in whoever he has to.
Yeah.
The man is a mad scientist when it comes to offenses.
Like Bill.
And he said no. Tua says he can play, he's going to play.
Yeah.
And Tua played. And granted, the injury he suffers, 2 weeks later, takes him out of, maybe people thought out of football, but at very least took him out for
That's
a
all
season.
I heard. Bo Jackson never recovered. Bo Jackson never recovered. I read something today. I included it in my Tua blog, actually.
Yeah.
I keep plugging my blogs, but that's what I'm here for. But it said that the injury you sustain isn't supposed to be in football. The only injuries that they see, it's a dislocated hip with a fracture on the posterior hip wall.
Mm-hmm.
The only times you see that is when people get T-boned in a violent car crash.
Exactly.
That's the only time they see those injuries. So people are like, Tua, like, this isn't a football injury. This is like you just got smoked by an 18-wheeler type injury. Like, and then he comes back in March and they're like, yeah, he's good to go. I'm like,
there's no way.
Yeah, it's been like 4 months. Like, what do you mean he's good to go?
Enough time.
Yeah.
I remember sitting on my couch and we're getting down to draft time, and obviously we're in quarantine. But I can just remember like sitting down on my couch and I'm doing my draft notes and trying to prepare, like, okay, well, who's gonna draft and who, and like what are my reactions gonna be. And I remember seeing that Tua was like still like draftable, like, oh, he's a legitimate option in this draft. I was like, wait, how? They're like, oh yeah, he could throw the ball. He had a little private workout and he did that. I'm like, whoa, wasn't he about to die 6 weeks ago?
Dude, I remember all the rumors that the Dolphins, I think it was smoke, I don't think it's real, that they wanted Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert looks good.
He does look good, but there's no way the Dolphins wanted him.
No.
I think there's zero chance.
No. People forget because of what happened in the LSU game and then what happened with Tua's injury. Tua was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. He was the greatest thing since like Peyton Manning, his freshman year. Like, he was supposed to be like the next Peyton Manning type prospect, and now it's Trevor Lawrence. Right. But he had one injury and one loss, and all of a sudden, like, Tua. No, Tua's still gonna be Tua.
Tua is absolutely still. But the thing is, people have this picture for Alabama that if a quarterback comes out of Alabama, if he doesn't win 6 national championships in 3 years, then he's not a draftable quarterback. How could you ever draft him?
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of pretty good quarterbacks have been passed over out of Alabama.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of their talent wasted at the quarterback position, and that's why a lot of people argue that, well, if you want to be a quarterback, Alabama's not the place to go.
Yeah.
If you want to be anything else, go to Alabama. If you want to be a quarterback, go Georgia, South Carolina, and you have a way better chance at getting a quarterback job.
Ohio State.
Dwayne
Haskins.
Jesus.
That guy.
Oh. Well, I feel bad for him, though. I do feel bad for him. Because
I don't, because apparently the rumors are that he's lazy and doesn't prepare. But like, I don't think Ron Rivera would make that up.
But hear me out. I don't think that the Washington football team prepares.
Facts.
As a whole.
The organization, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Dan Snyder has once prepared for a game. I don't think anybody who serves concessions has prepared for a game. I don't think the uniform people have, because like,
well, they don't know what logo to put. Hey, what's a mascot?
What are we doing, guys? I'm like, oh no, we're the football team. Just put a W. Just
throw a football in there. We'll be set.
We'll be fine.
They'll catch our drift.
They'll
they play football. Okay,
yeah,
we're good.
In there in Washington. Okay.
Yeah, like not the state though. DC. District of Columbia.
Yeah, the Seahawks are another Washington, but then we don't like them. So.
Yeah.
I look at them and I say that organization is a dumpster fire. And look, we've seen quarterbacks get into the league unprepared before, right? And not all of them have worked out, but some have. And I say that if he winds up in, say, New England as a low pick in the 6th round, 5th round, we say, oh, he got drafted too low. And then Bill Belichick fixes him. And we say, oh, it makes sense why. We look back and we say, oh, in his draft profile, he wasn't paying attention. So, fell asleep in a meeting, whatever it is. He's not prepared. He wasn't prepared. Bill Belichick knew that. Sat him behind a good quarterback for a little while. Got him prepared, taking notes on.
Right.
But
that goes back to the coaches, though. Like, we respect Bill Belichick so much that anything he does, we're like, perfect, genius.
Right. And on the flip of it, he's in a division where quarterbacks don't seem to come at a premium, with the exception of Dakota James Prescott.
Dakota James.
With the exception of him,
who
is otherworldly at the quarterback position. Carson Wentz is way overrated as a quarterback. I think he's a bad quarterback. He had that one year where he was on the MVP run.
I think towards ACL, and then Nick Foles went one.
And then ever since he's torn his ACL, he's not a good quarterback. And we've been giving him passes and saying, "Oh, they just need this, they just need that, they
Their
just need the other."
team is awful though. They have no weapons.
They
And
need-
Miles Sanders is hurt now too.
Right. And so, like, you take an already thin team and thin them out more.
Right.
But I see mistakes by Carson Wentz a lot. And, like, look, they looked great Sunday. But
Against
on the
the Niners.
whole, you beat the Niners, who don't have a running, who don't